Traditionally, black people have been shut out of the financial system. My grandfather founded Industrial Bank in 1934 so black people would have a bank that would work with them. Because our doors are open, other doors are opening to more opportunities for our community. We're excited to work with Citi so we can realize our dreams of expanding our reach and impact.
Citi is committed to working with black-owned banks like Industrial so they can continue to support their clients and communities.
I'm a Verizon engineer, part of the team that built 5G right, the only one from America's most reliable network. We designed our 5G to make the things you do every day better. With 5G nationwide, millions of people can now work, listen, and stream in Verizon 5G quality. And in parts of many major cities where people can use massive capacity, we have ultra-wideband, the fastest 5G in the world. This is the 5G that's built for you. This is 5G built right, only from Verizon.
Welcome to Paley Front Row, presented by Citi. I am Perry Nemiroff, senior producer at Collider, and I am beyond thrilled to welcome you to this special conversation celebrating Cobra Kai. Thanks to Paley Center sponsor Verizon for helping to make this event possible. Today, we are thrilled to welcome Cobra Kai's gifted cast and creators to this conversation. Joining us, we have cast members and executive producers Ralph Macchio, who plays Daniel LaRusso, William Zabka, who plays Johnny Lawrence. We've also got Xolo Maridueña, who plays Miguel Diaz, Mary Mouser, who plays Samantha LaRusso, Courtney Hengler, who plays Amanda LaRusso, and now we've also got executive producers, writers, directors, Josh Heald, John Hurwitz, and Hayden Schlossberg. Welcome, everyone. So happy to see you.
Thanks for having us.
So I am coming to you first, John, Josh, and Hayden. Let's start by going back a little bit for anyone out there who isn't really familiar with the origins of Cobra Kai. How did the idea for the show first come to be? And then what would you say was the key to getting the initial okay to continuing the series?
You know, it started a long time ago. Hayden, Josh, and I have been friends since we were teenagers, and we all fell in love with the Karate Kid, in our youth. And as we became friends, we bonded over our love of this franchise and had been talking about it for a long time, so much so that even in our early 20s, when we were young screenwriters, we talked about, how interesting it would be to kind of jump back into the Karate Kid universe and tell a story exploring sort of the quote unquote bully's point of view, and where does a bully come from, and where does the life of a bully go? And back then we were talking about it as a movie, but as the years went by and it felt like something that was impossible, streaming television came along, and you started to see these opportunities to tell long form stories where we felt, wouldn't it be great if we found a whole new generation of teenagers, explored their stories, the challenges going through their lives, and have, Daniel LaRusso and Johnny Lawrence and, eventually Sensei John Kreese, mixing it up with this whole new generation and, dealing with their present day issues, exploring their past, and passing along their karate knowledge.
All right, Ralph and Billy, let's get that story from your perspective now, because you don't want to go back to a popular property, something that's very near and dear to you, just for the sake of it. You want to be able to continue the story that the Karate Kid started with purpose, which you definitely do here. So what was it about John, Josh, and Hayden's original pitch to you that made you both say, yeah, that right there is a worthwhile next step to take in these character stories?
Go first, Mr. Zabka?
Sure. Well,
the meetings went in that order, so we might as well.
That's right. Well, first of all, it comes to it's who's telling you the pitch, first of all. I had already worked with Josh on Hot Tub Time Machine. I knew John and Hayden. I had a feeling that there was something in me that always felt like the three of us would be doing something together someday. And so when Josh emailed out of the blue one day after not talking to him for a while, saying, hey, I have an idea for something that with John and Hayden we think we might be interested in, I had no idea what they were going to hit me with. So we went to this nice Mexican restaurant, and as the waiter came in, they told the waiter to get lost, and we were eating chips. they basically spitfired the entire show as we've seen it up to almost season 3 in blurbs with all these other characters. And I was just, my head was spinning around, but their passion for Karate Kid, they were fans of the work I did in the 80s as the villain. And they wanted to give him a little bit more of a heart and come into the Karate Kid universe this way and do this. There was just something inside me that felt like these are the right guys. This is the right story. I don't get it all. I kind of get it. But I trusted it. It was an instinct, and so it's like, okay, let's see where this goes from here. I know the next step I said, what do you have to do now? They said, we have to go meet Ralph Macchio. I said, good luck with that. Cause I know how protective Ralph was over the years. And so I thought, well, we'll see. We walked away from that meeting, and I really, truly walked away, and I almost texted them this, and I wish I did just for posterity, and we have this, but I felt like the Johnny and me opened one crusty eye and saw a vague image of Allie in the distance. It was like something was being reborn in me. The Johnny Lawrence had been dormant for these 35 years was coming to life, and I just trusted them with their passion. They just knew it. I mean, their pitch to us, it wasn't a pitch even. It was just something. It was a pitch. It was bam, bam, bam. It was a 3-headed dragon telling you the story, and it was overwhelming and exciting and stimulating. And I said, okay, let's see what happens. But it was like a toe in at a time. It was also too was so close to me that if this didn't work out and I got too involved, like fall in love with somebody who didn't turn it back, it would have been heartbreaking. So I held it really loosely and just let's see how this goes. Then they went off to New York, and Ralph Macchio, why don't you take it from there?
Yeah. So then we entered my set piece down Lower Manhattan. I got a call from one of my lawyer actually, who reps I think John Hayden or their firm, and they say, do you know these guys? The Harold and Kumar guys, the Hot Tub Time Machine guy. Everybody is labeled. I'm the Karate Kid. I'm the Karate Kid guy. And they said they have an idea for something, and so we, it was in the discussions from that point. I didn't even know that a couple of calls went back and forth, and we set up a meeting in New York. I had just done the Rob Lowe roast. It's funny because I always mention this. I was watching the roast of Rob Lowe, and I'm on Twitter. You're checking out. Hey, he was funny. Hey, he sucked. Hey, he was great. And all of a sudden, I see John Hurwitz follow me. I was like, oh. And so then I get this call 2 days later. I said, they saw me on this roast. I was awesome, and they want to, franchise. That's what I thought was splits. That was the initial thing. But anyway, so I met the guys. Billy and I joke about this. I'm sure the three of them will never tell us the complete truth. We would love to have a script of what his pitch was versus what my pitch was. And the first words out of their mouths, Hayden had the first word. It was like bullying. That was the first thing he said. He's like, let me bring him in with the bullying concept. And he did. And then it was the 3-headed dragon, as Billy said. And then there's one of them, I don't know, I think it might have been John. Someone had to mention that the name of this show was Cobra Kai. Someone had that job. I don't know if it was one of the two. And that was not really a gut punch, but okay, so what is this? And then we went, it was so well crafted, so well thought out. The movie Creed had just broken, and it was a pretty big success. And that was an angle into the Rocky world through the eyes of Apollo Creed's son. And so that made sense at the time. And sort of exploring through the eyes of Johnny Lawrence what those events of 1984 was, that was smart. And it was extremely well, as was the pitch when we all pitched it around town, extremely well thought out, very detailed. Even though you couldn't grasp it all, there was no doubt in my mind that these 3 guys were super fans of the franchise, wanted to do well by the franchise, but yet wanted to create something fresh, young, relevant, and deal with nostalgia as well as present day storytelling. And so, it's still like standing at the edge of the pool and you're going to jump in. You don't know if it's going to be 85 degrees or if it's going to be 26 degrees, and that still was the way all the way through. But it was a gut instinct to move the streaming services, the concept of telling a long form kind of movie, but cutting it up into 10 parts. It just seemed ripe. It seemed like if it wasn't now, it wouldn't have been 2 years ago, it wouldn't be 2 years from now. Now was it. And I called Billy and he picked up on the quarter of a ring. It was like, it was like, he goes, I was waiting for this call. And then when it came up, well, what do you think? What are you thinking? I want to make sure this, want to make sure that one. It was great. It's awesome. Here we are. It's amazing.
All this Hot Tub Time Machine talk is making me have very fond memories of wearing my Sweep the Leg shirt to that screening party so many years ago. All meant to be. So we've brought up the terms, I think, villain and bully a couple times. Ralph, if young you first making Karate Kid could see into the future and know that the conversation could be around Daniel being the antagonist of that movie, what would he have thought of that at that time?
At that, like in 83, when I was making the film, I would thought it was preposterous and just ridiculous, and like impossible. Once it came around, once the internet was invented, and once people started talking about the illegal kick and everything else, it became, at first it was like, what? And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, it's 15 years, it's 18 years, it's 24 years, and people are talking. That's kind of great, because that means it's relevant and it's in the consciousness of the fabric of Americana, or the world for that matter. And that movies are defined based on time and where they sit in history, and the fact that they're still talking about ours before the Cobra Kai series ignited was, it was proof that it struck a chord and meant something to people. So it's fun to keep that ball up in the air for all these decades.
I also feel like I have to backtrack and pluck the word villain out of the scenario, because this isn't a good guy versus bad guy show. And you guys have one very key line in season 3 that captures that very well. There's your side, and then there's the truth. So first for you, Ralph and Billy, with that in mind, in season 3, what would you say is a positive new quality of Daniel and Johnny that you two can directly attribute to what they've learned from the other?
It's a good question. I'm trying to go back because we're in the middle of shooting season 4, so I have to make sure I'm talking about.
That's right.
Share some season 4 details.
No, I can't do that. Except better and awesomer. I think they both have good intentions, and I think they realize that. I'll speak for LaRusso. I think he realizes that. During season 3, certainly when Kreese becomes more and more the epic villain, be it the Mexican restaurant scene with Courtney and Vanessa and Billy and I, see episode 9, 209, so season 2, 9. You start to see those moments. He sees those moments in Johnny, and when they talk about Robbie and both of their interests in doing well by that kid, and caring about him. Those are the moments that lead to learning something from each other. But it's, they're also each other's kryptonite, and that's just so much fun as well. So that's one of the places that I see that. And there are others. It's peeling the onion layers off of that root. That's so interesting to do. William?
That's a really good question. And we are in the middle of season 4, so I'm a little off kilter.
Yeah, I went back 2 seasons.
I mean, season 3, where the characters are at, they're destroyed. It's a car accident at the end. And Daniel throws an olive branch and says, "Let's go find Robbie." And I think the great thing, but the thing that I enjoy the most in what I see in Johnny and Daniel is that, without each other, they need each other in a way. They learn from each other through their opposites, different but same as in season 1, going out on the road trip. What Johnny learns from Daniel, I think, is by osmosis. I think, I love they get into the bar fight, the garage fight. But I think for me, as the character was when it was the Christmas party, and seeing how Allie came in the middle of that and all putting bygones be bygones. But for me, as the actor and playing Johnny, was the moment when Kreese is about to choke him out and Daniel comes in. That turning point right there, and this kind of new respect for LaRusso, you know, at the end of that was awesome to play. And then the bow at the end of season 3 was really cathartic and was like a nice release of, okay, like there's so many landmines between these two characters, but they, at the end of the day, you know, they're different, but very much the same, and have the same, you know, goal and intention of applying what they know and their best to life and moving forward. And that's just the fun rub between the two characters, which is now continuing on. I think they have a lot to learn from each other. And season 4, we'll see more of that, a lot more of that.
I look forward to it.
Awesome to play, yeah.
Another relationship I love watching grow on the show is the one between Johnny and Miguel. And in season 3 in particular, the two of them shared a number of major milestone moments. So Billy and Xolo, is there a favorite of the bunch for you, whether it be something you were really looking forward to filming together, or maybe something you wound up being especially proud of in the end?
I think, I mean, for me personally, all of my scenes with Billy, I guess not all of them, but I think the ones that you're mentioning kind of fall into 2 categories. There's the silly montage, like, I can't believe this guy's putting his kids into a cement truck kind of scene where you're like his unconventional, you know, training. But also, you know, I really enjoy the scenes, you know, you see them in seasons 2 and 3, I'd say the most, where, you know, Johnny and Miguel get to have this heart to heart that I feel like, you know, is like resembles that of a father and son. And I think that those are some of my favorite scenes. You know, I'm on the record saying that the season 2 scene where Johnny is explaining to Miguel in the burger shop, like, hey, you know, I messed up with my son and I don't really, and I'm trying to do right by you. It is like one of my favorite scenes just in the show. And it felt so great to film that scene. And then in the next season to kind of have the, I guess, the flip side of that, where, you know, Miguel kind of got to, you know, take control of the situation when he's, you know, telling Johnny, like, hey, you can't be down in the dumps. Like, you got to take back Cobra Kai. And I think, you know, just getting to film with Billy, even from the chemistry reads, was so different than any other actor that I've worked with. And I think the chemistry on screen is similar to that off screen. And it really is a pleasure. And getting to do some of it with Ralph too in season 3, like getting to work in the car and stuff like that. You know, that was, I mean, a long time coming. It was funny to never really get to work with Ralph ever up until that 3rd season. So it was fun to see the flip sides and how they work and on and off screen.
Yeah.
So Mary, you had your work cut out for you in season 3 of the show with the headspace that Sam finds herself in. So how do you go about preparing for something like that, just to fully understand what she's feeling and struggling with?
I think, you know, the thing that I was most like excited about, I guess, again, that's like, I feel weird applying like words like fun and excited and ready for it, but like I was, as an actor, like excited about, you know, getting to dive into that. Was at first I was like, oh, this is totally like something I have to go find and figure out, and obviously I've never been in a giant karate brawl, so like I'm gonna have to completely invent what this feels like. And then the more I kind of like started getting into season 3, I was like, oh, maybe this isn't so far apart from like parts of me. And then it became a lot more challenging because it was like figuring out how to integrate the not so great moments of my life, or the moments where I've really struggled, and then trying to bring that in to Samantha. It was kind of hard at first. It was like something I didn't like feel like I could take on entirely. I was nervous about it, where I was like, you know, I've gotten to have Samantha be this like separate bubble from my life and be like, oh yes, go into the world where like her biggest issue is, you know, her lovely little love triangle in amongst kicking and punching, and like that's so fun. And then getting to kind of bring in all the heavier, darker stuff was challenging, and it started to feel really close to home at moments. And a lot of things that Samantha struggled with in my own way are things that I've struggled with. And at first, like I said, that was intimidating, and then it became really cathartic and very helpful and really interesting to get to apply myself to and to approach. I love the season 3 episode 5 episode where it's like, you know, just how do you deal with having panic attacks, like, or feeling like that might be coming on? Like, Samantha's answer is go fight people, and then that doesn't go quite right, and so then there's the recovery journey from that, and then the moments with Daniel on the boat and their whole field trip day were just so cool and special, and it felt the whole season for me felt challenging, but in such a great way that when I got done with the season, I was like tired in a different way that I hadn't been for the other two seasons. In the past, I was like physically tired. I was like, "Whoa, that was a lot of karate." And then this season, it was like I finished and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like I could just go live on a beach somewhere for a month and recover from this." But it was really cool. It was very special, and I hope that and I have had a really cool experience of people reaching out to me and saying that they connected with Samantha in new and different ways. And, Samantha kind of, I think, got passed down the LaRusso title of being the real villain and the real bully. And that's totally fine. I think that's fun if you want to say that. Now, I, like, as Ralph said, that his younger self might have done, would be like, you're completely crazy. That's not the fact at all. But it was fun, definitely, to get to show this other side of Samantha, the version of Samantha that I've known all along, where, she might be making decisions that people don't agree with, but she's got a really good heart. I hope, that comes through, that I believe she's just trying her best and doesn't always have the whole broad scope of information. And season 3 was, I think, her realizing that, like, maybe I don't know as much as I think I did.
Pivoting now to the karate of it all, I'll never forget at the beginning of the show's run, you explaining that athletics were not really your thing. And since then, you've had so many great fight set pieces. So of all of the fight sequences that you've done thus far, which one would make season 1 Mary go, "Oh my, I cannot believe I did that"?
There are some things that we've shot this season that would definitely go on that list. But for now, I will say the season 2 finale. There's nothing that can really top that energy it was just such chaos. And the really fun thing was the guys had all of our background actors be allowed to scream and yell while we were fighting. A lot of times, because you don't want to cover up dialogue, we didn't get to do that. For several takes, we got to do that. And the energy was insane. And it really felt like coming away from just like I had been up in a ring at a fight, and like coming away from all that cheering and craziness and the kill her, get her, like the crazy things these people were saying. It was really awesome. That was something that season 1 me wouldn't have believed, and most definitely like high school me would have looked at and been like, "You're absolutely crazy. That was CGI."
Right. So Courtney, I'm coming your way now. And even though Amanda doesn't get into the karate of it all, she's got some real fight in her that I think we see on display in season 3 more so than ever. So what was it like for you finding and tapping into how Amanda steps up to defend her loved ones in her own way?
I mean, I was just excited to when they sat me down, they're like, "You're going to slap Kreese." And I was like, "And me him in the groin?" They're like, "No, just a slap." And I was like, "I'll take it. I will." I was just, this whole show was about karate. Everybody's doing karate on it. And I was so nervous because I was like with the King Cobra himself. And I'm like, "Just be cool. Just land the hit, Courtney." So I don't think I wasn't so much thinking of the acting as much as I was thinking, look cool in front of Martin Cove. And then you hit him. And I don't know if that earned his respect, or I think it earned his respect, to be honest with you. Because till this day, he's like, "You're the only woman who's ever laid a hand on me." He doesn't really sound like that, but for my retelling purposes, it does.
I feel like from our previous conversation, you know how much I love your one-liners this season. And I think the last time we spoke, you might have even have referred to them as Courtney lines that were tailored to you. So I'm going to pose this question to John, Josh, and Hayden. Can you explain the art and the fun of crafting a Courtney line?
I can just say from the beginning of writing Courtney's character, it's one of our most fun characters to write when we're in the writer's room, when we're thinking about the season, because it's always, we dive so hard into the immersion of the stakes of this show are so high and so unbelievable and so palpable. But if you take one micro step back, you realize that it's a bunch of adults, karate fighting and, placing life or death, putting themselves in life or death situations over some karate school. So it literally teeters on the head of a pin. And it's so nice when you have characters who can kind of take the air out of the balloon a little bit. And, Courtney from the very first season was, just bringing her into this karate war as somebody who didn't live through it in 1984 and, where it all seeded from was just so great. Encountering, Johnny Lawrence for the first time, encountering Kreese, and even hearing about the fact that there's, this older man who, Daniel has all this kind of like worry and sentiment about that goes back all these years. It's so gratifying to have a character point that out and say, you realize how ridiculous this is. And then you just play with the dialogue, and Courtney has such a way of, delivering it so believably and so hilariously that it's, and then the turn was great in season 3 to see that, like, she finally gets drawn into it, experiences it, and Daniel has a little bit of it. You see, like, now you see why it's so, why I'm so, my heart is thumping so much. So it's so much fun with, and in the beginning it was like Courtney, it was Gianni's character, Dimitri, these characters were a little bit on the periphery of the karate, and just to kind of see them get pulled in by the tractor beam of it all is really fun.
I like that part of it quite a bit. So now, John, Josh, Hayden, Ralph, you can all chime in on this one, because filming some of the season in Okinawa is a pretty big deal for this franchise. So why was it important for you to film there for real this time, even with a limited amount of time there, rather than, let's say, going back to Hawaii like the Karate Kid Part 2?
I think that was something special, certainly for me. I think, I guess the guys could speak to this of wanting to get Daniel LaRusso, me, to Okinawa, because I had never been there. I'd been to Japan before. There was a time in the writer's room, I popped in right before season 3, and one of the things I sort of, you always mention, okay, maybe this season I offer I would love to see this. And one of the things I mentioned is I would love to see us learn something about Daniel LaRusso we have, no idea about, or have him be educated of something that's out of his realm and is offered in a certain way. And from that came the letter scenes where Kumiko reads these letters from Miyagi, and he gets to learn a lot, and it informs him going forward. So in that, I'll hand this off to the guys and where Okinawa fell in that. I've been pitching Kumiko and Okinawa as from probably my second call with them before we even all jumped on board together, just because I felt there's such an incompletion in some of those stories, and it breathes the land of Miyagi as ways to keep Miyagi in this show, which has always been pretty important to me, and has been so well done and graced with in every season. So you guys could go if we have.
Yeah, no, I mean that is really where it begins and ends is Mr. Miyagi. I think that when we got the opportunity to do this show, we saw all the fun possibilities, but for us it was being able to relive the movie that we fell in love with, and obviously Pat Morita's performance as Mr. Miyagi is as big as anything in that movie, and why we love it. And that was the thing when you're making this show. Well, how do you do this without him? And for us, the character is a part of the story. That is what Daniel is going through. That's what's relatable. We're not going to be with our mentors and our parents forever, the way life works. And so what do you do when the person who had all the answers is gone, and you have to be the teacher, you have to be the parent, you have to be the mentor? It's for somebody who grew up with the Karate Kid, watching that movie, it's, we know that Daniel had flaws. We knew that he had things to overcome in his life. And we were really just introduced to Mr. Miyagi as this, the guy with all the answers. And so with this show, we love to explore things about Mr. Miyagi that we didn't know, and being able to go to Okinawa gives us the opportunity to do that and bring that into season 3. And we loved the idea that, hey, guess what? At one point, Mr. Miyagi was in your boat and didn't have all the answers and was actually, meeting Daniel LaRusso that kind of gave his life a little bit of clarity. And for Daniel to hear that, it was just, it's that cathartic moment that you want as you're getting older and thinking about your past and your family. And so, it gives the Karate Kid vibes and the Karate Kid feels that we're always looking for on the show.
It was so impressive to see how you guys incorporated that into the new season. And then also Elizabeth Shue's return. That blew me away. It was better than I ever could have imagined. I did hear, though, her involvement wasn't locked until fairly close to filming time. So can you guys kind of walk us through the process of being super committed to making something like that happen, but also having the requirement of having a backup plan that you're still happy with just in case it doesn't?
I wouldn't say that we were happy with the idea of a backup plan. It was one of those things that, when we wrote at the end of season 2 that, you're going to see this phone on the beach, we're basically saying, Elizabeth Shue will eventually come. And that was just us trying to will it into existence. It was, we believed we were making a really great, well-intentioned show. We're proud of the work that we were all doing. And we felt like we would have something really interesting for her to do. And we had, heard by that point that there was an open-mindedness at the very least on her end to considering it. And at that point, it was really, we felt confident that we were going to, reintroduce her character in a way that was three-dimensional, that showed that her character had lived life and has some interesting things that she's going through, while also it dovetailing with a time where it would be really valuable for both Johnny and Daniel's characters to be encountering her. And, it did come a little bit down to the wire in certain ways. But, we wouldn't take no for an answer when it came to, the studio getting nervous or whatever it was. We never told them our backup plan. We did have one, but we never told them it. We made it like there was no option and they kind of had to do whatever it took to eventually make it happen. Because we thought it was important for the fans of the Karate Kid and fans of Cobra Kai to have that fulfilling experience of Ali with an I returning into this world. We always talk about this as like a Karate Kid fantasy camp for us in a certain way, that like somehow like we're like living in the world of like, characters from our favorite movies, and just to be there as individuals off camera, watching, Ralph and Lisa kind of reunite for the first time in, decades. They hadn't seen each other in a long time. That's a moment that I'll never forget. And then just watching it, them all work together in these scenes, and to see these new dynamics and to watch it play out, and to see them, the chemistry that they all had, on camera, it was the same way off camera, and just sort of, it felt like the reunion that it was on the show. So we were determined to make sure that happened no matter what.
All right. Now for the entire cast here, I think it's time to make John, Josh, and Hayden blush a little, because I think the world of them, and I probably think you guys do too. So what would you say it is about the three of them that make them the optimal leaders for a series like Cobra Kai?
Because they really are a three-headed dragon. They have one body and three heads.
They do. That's why
they're the best. I mean, I wish they weren't here because, I don't want to, I'll make them blush, but
okay, I'll go away.
That was my plan all along. They're just the greatest guys. They're the guys you want as friends. Forget the show. You just want to hang out with them. First of all, they're great family men. They have great hearts. They're great brothers, friends to each other. And then they're so honest and they're immovable. I mean, when they have an idea about it, they're like tenacious about their angle. And I mean, I'm constantly going, can we do this? How about this with this? No, this. Like, they know right what they want. And you can trust that. And as an actor, that's the best feeling you can have as an artist, to jump into something and know you're in great hands. So.
I think the friendship is so evident and is so rich between them. I see them at times. I'll be behind them. They'll be watching the monitor, and I'll see Hayden put his arm over each of them as they're watching something. And I remember it distinctively. It was outside of Miyagi's Miyagi house. I don't remember the scene, but I remember the moment. It was toward the end of the season 2. And I saw they were watching the monitor, and Hayden just came, and they, like three brothers protecting each other, or like watching. So it was really very sweet. It's the first time I told this moment to them, but it was it was a moment to me that sort of galvanized what they are as friend, as men, as creators. And they are passionate in sync. I love when they bicker. It's the best part, but it's always, they need the fact that there's three is always one to cancel it out. You know what I mean? So there are certain things that they have to get that majority rules thing. And that's fun to watch as well. And they're great listeners. They allow me to run my crap and give my opinions. And some of them are really damn good. And some of them are just my protective opinions. And it's the most collaborative art form in the world, making films, making cinema, television. And they are open to that. And that's super important. But they firmly hold the rudder of the ship. And you need that as well. And why did Billy jump out when I was being so eloquent?
This is awful. This is like the worst thing. My battery died on my iPad, so now here I am on my iPhone in true Johnny Lawrence form. I can't see all of you at the same time.
You said it was wireless.
I'm using a Dell, so.
All right. I have one more question for you, and I was going to steer away from this one, but I got the okay to ask it. You guys are in the middle of production on season 4 right now. Is there anything at all you can tease?
We're all in it.
I can say
spoiler, Ralph.
I can say every single person on this Zoom right now is probably as exhausted as I look because of what we've been filming right now and what we have ahead of us for the next little while here. But all I can say is, it was really important for us to end season 3 the way we did, with, kind of like, kind of as a feeling, as opposed to like, where season 2 went. And, we want to deliver on that feeling. We want to keep, providing the dopamine that, that generates that good feeling. We want to, make sure we're delivering on goosebumps, on tears, on, belly laughs, and, and fist pumps. And, it's the same recipe with different tastes and everything else, but it's even bigger. So we're really, really proud of what we're making so far. And I know everybody, I can't wait for you to see what everybody's doing.
Well, I'm going to let you get back to it because I can't wait for season 4. And I love your show thus far. I love all of you. You are a delight. Thank you so much for spending this time with us to have this conversation. There's never enough time to talk Cobra Kai.
Thanks, Barry.
Thanks so much.
And thank you so much to everybody out there for joining us for this special Paley Front Row presented by City Conversation with these wonderful members of the cast and creative team of Cobra Kai. And thanks to Paley Center sponsor, Verizon. You can learn more about the Paley Center by visiting paleycenter.org. Thank you and take care.